Welcome. We're back to another episode of The Sound of Sosa. I am your host, Ryan Porter Sosa, and today we are joined by Michael Levins, or Mike Levins. He is co-owner, right,
Yep, co-owner.
of Crosstown Exotics. He is an animal educator. I've known him since he moved to town back when we were in junior high together. We even did some sports as well. Very intelligent individual. He has a love for reptiles, as I did growing up. He has stayed invested in them, and I think everyone will enjoy what he's got to say about that topic.
Sound like,
Well,
but
no, it's not. It's more of the fact that the women teach the children usually,
uh,
and so every time you see a mother that's actually the Hispanic,
yeah.
they usually teach the children, and maybe it was a single mother situation, and she was working.
Well, no, what my grandma and my grandma's sister were telling me how my grandma just always had she sounded like a white person trying to speak Spanish. So she never picked up on
Scoot
it.
over a little more.
Um, and it
Is it
just
coming?
never stuck really. Like when she was growing up. So I think my mom knew a little bit from family saying it here and there. I know before I moved I started off in Chicago and then we moved to Ohio, and before I left I think my aunt was working on some some Spanish but not a lot kind of thing. So it just never stuck. But yeah, my my Aunt Rose, none of my cousins speak Spanish. Like my Aunt
Okay.
Rose is my grandma's sister,
Yeah.
they're same way, just
That's
yeah.
interesting because, yeah, like I said, it's usually the mother. Like you always see when the father is Hispanic, the kids don't speak Spanish.
Okay.
And
That makes sense because yeah, dad's usually working or something. Like most dynamics.
well, it's just always the mother passes on her
Yeah.
knowledge. You know what I mean? It's always been like that for eons in human history, and so with that, it's like second nature for things like that to actually happen. So yours is kind of an oddity, but I bet you there's something that would explain it
It could,
in the
yeah.
past history.
And I
Maybe
feel
one,
like that was my grandma just never picked it up. So my mom never
yeah.
got it, and then I just kind of that's where
So
it
how many generations are you down? How long has your family been here on your Mexican side?
that I'm not 100% because I remember asking one of my aunts my Aunt Rose because my great grandmother, I don't know if she was born in the United States or born in Mexico because I think it
Okay.
was she might have been one the first in the United States, and then might
Yeah.
have been I remember my aunt telling me something past relatives followed the railroad. Like they were doing something with the railroad.
Okay. Yeah, they're helping build it.
Yeah,
That makes
because it
sense.
was we have relatives in Arizona, so I think they were kind of in that area that came up. But I don't know. It's one of those I guess just you get so far removed and you lose a little bit of who came from what.
Yeah.
Because
And that's understandable completely. You know what I mean? Like that's going to happen with families. Only reason I am more prone to it. Would you like a piece of candy?
yeah, I'll eat a piece of candy.
Look at what kind of candy it is
Yeah,
first, though.
no,
Um,
I like.
I don't know if you want too much sugar. Um,
I'm a gummy guy. I like gummies,
okay,
gummy
cool.
worms, gummy
Yeah,
bears.
they're the best. Um, and so I kind of lost my train of thought. Um,
Tracking your family history.
oh yeah. So I'm a little more pertinent with it. Not pertinent, but I'm a little more concerned with it. I guess because I'm very close
Okay.
to my dad came over here from Mexico, so I'm still a first generation Hispanic. I believe I'm a second generation Italian.
Okay.
Um, I am very far removed on my Swedish side, which is Johnson. My grandma's maiden name was Johnson. That's a big Johnson. Got a long Johnson here. Remember freaking what is that? Austin Powers?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the beginning, dude. It was funny because I never knew that until I started actually doing a little ancestry stuff. But yeah, then my Italian, the Badino side, has only been over here since my grandpa, so that makes me uh the second generation Italian, first generation Hispanic. And
Okay.
so with that, we my dad wanted to assimilate. That was what their objective was when they came over here was assimilate, assimilate,
I
assimilate.
think back then it's kind of how it was,
Yeah,
just so you can fit in and make life easier.
yeah, they wanted to be Americans. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so, and then as well too, my dad, my grandma had came over here, then went back, and he came over, went back, and came back. And so there was a little bit of a disconnect between that. It was more my dad just wanted to fit in. He was so proud to be an
Yeah.
American. He still is. Like my dad was the loudest person at the fireworks at Navy Pier screaming, and that's why I do it now.
Okay. Yeah.
Because he just loved it. He
Yeah.
literally loved it. 4th of July's were always awesome because he was so happy to be here and so proud of it that he was able to go from what he had to this, and because
Yeah.
it's a lot of them have nothing, but there's doing it the right way and there's doing it the wrong way.
Yeah,
What's happening at
yeah.
our border right now is complete fucking chaos.
I don't know if you watch any of Ben Shapiro's stuff, but I was
I
watching.
don't know.
I got the Daily Wire Plus app thing. It was like a hundred bucks a year, something like that. And it he they got like their own little movies. Like I watched
Okay.
it was called like the United States of Biden or something like something.
Ben
They
Shapiro did this?
yeah, and they went to the border and stuff, and we're just kind of going and showing how it is and how things are like how easy it is for like these people just to like jump over and say like I'm in America now, like. And
I
I get it,
think
like we need immigrants, like that's a
yeah,
thing,
no,
you
that's
know.
that's fine, but we need to redo the system.
Well, we need to make sure they're not violent
Well,
criminals. They're not bringing fentanyl,
that's what I mean.
you
Like we need to
know, and
redo the
fentanyl's
system
getting crazy with that. So it's like,
because what? No, 100%. No,
yeah,
that shit is fucking disgusting.
and it's coming over with the, like, and not saying like that's every immigrant, but like there's bad guys out
They
there.
have tunnels.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's
They have tunnels though. But no, my thing is if we redid the system, made it actually kind of not streamlined to where you're circumventing our protocols,
yeah,
but make it to where it's actually obtainable. Right now, it's so difficult to get whatever you call it. That's why that's their justification behind doing this. You know what I mean? Oh, our system's broken with it. Well, fucking fix it.
yeah, and it's
Don't
like,
go around it like you've been doing. Don't. I mean, you're already going around Congress bombing other fucking countries. Like this is getting out of control. And I was a Biden supporter. I will say that I'm not ashamed of my decisions of what I of decision my past decisions. I do not like Donald Trump as a person. I don't mind him as a leader.
I
There's things I agree with. There's things
yeah,
I don't agree
and that's
with.
like any politician or anything.
Exactly.
Like, and a
And
lot of times you can look at you look at, like you said, you were a Biden supporter and you might have liked what he had, and then you got in office and you're like, this dude sucks. Like he
he
didn't
failed
like, yeah,
at every turn.
and that's any politician. You know what I mean? It's just one of those. Yeah, and it's nice you can look at it and be like, all right, we fucked up. Let's go with the next dude, or let's
I
go with
wish
the
people could
next.
do that.
You
More
know, to
people could.
yeah,
A lot of people can't.
I think a lot of people also get like, oh shit, I picked the wrong one. You
They
know, like kind of
they're ashamed of it and they're embarrassed. Where I'm sorry, if you truly believe that you should be embarrassed about being wrong about something, that makes you so much more wrong because it's like, dude,
yeah.
everyone is wrong at some point.
Like it's better to humble yourself and just like say,
Yep.
hey, I fucked up. Like, I think people respect you more. Like, yeah, I fucked up versus like, like I did this and that. Like, kind of it. You just look at it like a dumbass, when you're like, well, well, if we look at the
You
data
just
or
keep
like those
wanting to
goofy, yeah,
drive down on it.
and
Um,
like I don't know, it just, but yeah, he hasn't done anything that's helped anybody really, and it's weird, like,
he's caused a lot of problems. I
yeah,
think I can't say he hasn't done anything because he probably has helped some people, and he's also doing a very great job of making it look like he's helping people, really installing things that are going to be used at a later date to fuck us over.
yeah, on something like I know, like
All this free speech shit
yeah, like
is
yeah,
very dangerous.
they're just like how you can get like in trouble for offending somebody, like, or like that. I don't
I'm
know.
sorry, feelings aren't laws.
Yes, like that's
Yes.
but
Should people be saying things like that? No.
yeah, like it's
But it's going to happen. Get over it.
blatant race. Like it's just one of those, like if you're like dropping the N word or something, like you're just an asshole. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
I
Social society will weed you out on its own.
yeah, and like like I don't know the
Called a hate crime.
yeah. I'm trying to think, but like when they put stuff on there like to get rid of disinformation, like I feel like if people are dumb enough to believe certain things, like
That's cool because what they do is that then they turn and use that to suppress things that they don't want getting out, or they use that to
yeah,
look at what they did with the vaccine. Ugh.
yeah, like anytime you again, I get like I don't know. That's one of those things. Like there's so many different views on it. Like it just people are making up. There's a lot of people making up stuff and doing this. It's just like it. I don't know. I think people just need to get better
Well, it's
sources
just
other than Facebook when they look something up. You know what I like?
100%. To me, when you start suppressing science because it doesn't go with your agenda, there was an individual who put out that he was seeing a continuous issue with individuals who were getting incubated.
Okay.
He saw this early on and published his paper. It got some traction, and then it got removed. But what he was seeing was because when people were getting put on respirators, it lowers your breathing rate,
Okay.
which that allowed for the virus, bacteria, whatever it was, to actually overtake it quicker because it wasn't able to self clear.
Okay.
And so it was actually doing worse because what they were seeing is people that were in almost same conditions. One was incubated, one wasn't for some instance or some
Yeah.
reason or another. and the one that wasn't incubated would survive.
Yeah,
And so they kept finding this over and over and over and over. And this could be a little misconstrued here, so don't quote me word for word on this. But it's like, what the fuck? Why was this dude's paper taken off when people were finding the same when they were repeating it?
yeah.
It was a repeatable study.
I know,
Um,
like, scientific papers sometimes, like, if certain facts that match up or whatever, like, they might want to fact check, because there was that guy that came out with the dude that tried saying vaccines caused autism. Like, when they actually went back and peer reviewed it, he had a bunch of stuff that just like wasn't right. He manipulated
are you talking about
data.
RFK?
I don't know the guy. I just remember the scientist that came up with
Oh, the
the.
scientist.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
okay,
was the
okay.
one who said vaccines give you autism, and here's
Yeah,
my, and then when they went back, they're like, your numbers don't support this at all. Like, you fiddled with this or that to make it show it did something, but
yeah.
so sometimes things just disappear because someone found a mistake
There
or
is something with
yeah,
vaccines though. After the whole Reagan administration, it it got a little fucked up, if you ask me, because what was happening was they were making these things and then they were having side effects and people were wanting to sue them or suing them. I don't exactly remember. I think it's people were suing them and the banks were like, or not the banks, the pharmaceutical companies were like, hey, we're going to go bankrupt. This
I
we're,
think it
we're
was a
not able
flu
to.
vac. I think there was a flu vaccine they had a problem with because I think I remember listening to this in I have a couple like on Audible. I've got a bunch of books on germs that I've
Yeah.
listened to, and like I think there was a flu vaccine or something. Like they had to set up something for like the minute times that something goes wrong. Like there's a fund for it if that makes sense. Like and
Well, Reagan
liability
actually
issues. Yeah.
Reagan actually gave them a complete exemption in the law now because of the Reagan administration. It says that vaccines are too unpredictable or too volatile or something like that, something along those
Okay.
lines. So the companies producing them can't be held liable to them because of the
Gotcha.
variations within the vaccine and their interactions with people
Yeah.
are so widely varied they can never find everything. And it's
And
like,
viruses change too. So like sometimes you get
yeah,
a vaccine, then you get a new a variation in a virus, and or whatever, and then
well,
all of a
over
sudden it's
vaccinating during the pandemic caused the thing to start changing
oh
rapidly.
yeah, and then you got areas that was like didn't China get that where like everyone like was
I don't know.
vaccinated or not vaccinated against the first round. They were so quarantined that like
It actually,
when they
yeah.
tried to re-enter the world, like people were getting infected again or something. I could be looking at that wrong. It's weird how COVID was here and then it was gone. Like
Yeah, and they want everyone to forget about it, but like to me, there was a lot of egregious things done, and I do feel like yeah, they were trying to calm the main society, but I do feel like there was some fuckery.
yeah,
Like there's too many things with Fauci that are now being put out that are like, what the fuck, dude? This dude was sitting here telling us all this shit, and he was just talking out of his ass. Like he also has direct links to the funding of the Wuhan lab before the whole lab leak theory was like literally looked at as you were a psychopath
yeah.
conspiracy theorist. When in reality, there's now evidence showing that it's very plausible. There's also evidence that Fauci was funding a laboratory that was in the West that was doing gain of function research until something happened with it. And in like 2016, it got moved out or something like that. But it had
Huh.
some direct type of correlation to COVID, the COVID
Yeah.
19 strain. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't. Heard it and I never really looked into it again. But it was just like a list of things Fauci that are actually going on right now with Fauci that what the like how could this should have happened? How could we have let him do this? And
Yeah.
if you look at Fauci in the past, Robert Kennedy wrote a book about him, the real Anthony Fauci, and it talks about how he literally was pushing a drug that was killing the people quicker than AIDS was to try and help AIDS.
Yeah, that
Um,
there like I know he did a lot of AIDS research. Like he's a big known like advocate for people with
well,
AIDS,
this is
but I
the
think AIDS in general is one of those things like back like when it first hit out, like I think people just didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like if you it, I've gone down the rabbit hole a couple times watching like 90s AIDS documentaries, and like
yeah
the way you hear people talk about it, you're like fuck you guys. Like just I remember they were calling it gay cancer, and it was just like got like I don't you look back at it now and you're like, you guys are so dumb that like this spread more because you didn't want to like you were being like you guys were being assholes to this certain group of people, and it spread more because you didn't want to like educate or give help, and then now we're in where we're in. Like it just yeah, it just because it just seemed like it was one of those things like nobody knew anything about when it first hit. It was
yeah
like like the panic back then, it was almost like just as bad as like COVID was.
yeah. So the whole thing with the real Anthony Fauci book is Joe Rogan brought it up that I never thought about it like this. If that book was false information, that would be slander. He'd get
Yeah.
sued like a motherfucker.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
why, if it's not true, why hasn't he been sued?
That's a good point.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so no, I never thought about it like that. Like I've only done like a quick synopsis of the book and I haven't read it. I want to get on Audible and listen to it. Um, but it's messed up, dude. Like it shows that he was literally had knowledge of this drug not being effective and actually being harmful, and still was
Okay.
pushing it onto the population. And then as well too, not with Fauci, but like Bill Gates. There's a vaccine that he invested in that was banned other parts of the world. And so what did he do? He unloaded it on fucking Africa. It's like, whoa, dude, this thing
Wasn't
was
that the polio one? Didn't they do because like
we
I
could look
believe
that up
like
because
Bill
I
there was a big thing for a bit like everyone's like Bill Gates did the, like he released this vaccine in India because there's a huge polio epidemic. And I remember watching like uh like I get like again everyone's got different views. I'm like I am a very pro vaccine guy, but like
yeah,
I
no,
remember
and
watching this one
I
thing.
believe in the immunization vaccines, the
Yeah,
real
I
vaccines. You know what I
okay,
mean?
yeah.
Like,
Like stuff like, when you're at the doctor's office as a baby and they're giving you like
yeah.
this but like this I remember this it was an anti-vaxxer group and then they show this guy who had polio and can't walk. He's like, I wish I had a vaccine, like kind of like dumbing it down a little bit, but like just the way like they show a guy, he's like, if I lived in America, it'd be great if I had that vaccine because I can't walk now, kind of. I don't remember the guy's exact words, but just the way they showed it, it kind of broke down to like this guy being like, yeah, like I think you guys are being dumb for not taking your polio vaccine because like I have polio and look at me like
Yeah.
you know
It's
and
no.
and it
And
wasn't because they cleaned up there. You know what I mean?
mhm.
That's like one of the dirtiest like slums in the world. And I'm not the best with like hashtagging this, hashtagging that. So like
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
Chat
post.
GPT, bro.
Oh
You
yeah, I
that's
know.
this thing is helping me
He's
so
been
much.
using that quite a bit. Like put it like here, give me a description of this frog or give me a description of this. And whatever. But it it wow, that's just kind of looking it up right. I'm just watching that whole
Yeah,
thing.
no,
Like,
it's doing all the work for me right now,
yeah,
pretty
I was
much
like,
of what I was trying to
I've
do a
actually
second
never gone
ago.
on chat. I've never used
You
Chat
never used
GPT.
Chat GPT, bro?
No, I just remember watching the South
We
Park
need to
when they
get you
made
set
fun of
up
it.
with it, man, because this thing is a
Yeah,
life changer. It literally will efficientize your life. I was asking someone something yesterday, like, what's medium base for a light bulb? Like really the screw in part.
yeah,
I didn't. I'm like, what the fuck am I asking someone for? I got ChatGPT, which is smarter than most lawyers.
that's yeah, right. It's
It passed the
like
bar, dude.
it is. It's like
Um,
Skynet.
the thing, well, okay, so my whole thing with AI is I don't understand why, for some reason, everyone forgot how the government works, where they have something and they don't give it to us till 10
Yeah,
years
no, a lot of
later.
people don't realize. Yeah, a lot of
But,
military
well,
stuff starts off and then it's civilian later on.
I'm sitting here screaming at Joe Rogan, like, he talks about, like, oh, when we get to sentience or like when a thing
Yeah,
becomes self aware. I'm like, dude, you talk about how they have better shit than we do. You know they do. But for some reason, you forgot about it with AI.
yeah,
You really think they're letting Chat GPT blow
yeah.
through? They're investing what? I think they're at $1 billion of investment for Chat GPT 5,
Oh
if I'm not
wow.
mistaken. Or maybe that's for 6.
How do you know if they're combating? Because like I like when this popped up, the first thing I thought about was like it reminded me of like you remember the vocab book in high school and there was the website that had all the vocab book answers.
Ah, yeah.
Because
I never
I
used
that's
it.
what
Yeah.
I hated the vocab book, like, because it was like, yeah,
Vocab
did your
sucks.
word yeah.
Yeah.
So
English language is fucking stupid.
I remember doing that website, like, every week, whatever, looking up the answers and stuff, and that's like, if we had this, like, I wouldn't write any papers, like, come on, be honest, you know what I mean? As a kid, you're just like, "I'm gonna use ChatGPT," like
Yeah. There's ways that though that like kids have gotten caught doing it and stuff like that. And like then there's still the argument of like, well, hey, he's still technically doing the paper because he's taking the steps to have something
yeah,
else do it for him. You know what I mean? So there's still some essence to that. But
or even in colleges, like, think about how many, like, just random English classes someone's not writing a paper for now and whatnot.
yeah. No, it's interesting how this is gonna revolutionize our world. Um shit, what was it? What was I saying before we went oh yeah. So I'm sitting here screaming like well, I'm watching Joe Rogan like, dude, come on, think about it.
Yeah,
I bet you that's why things are getting so freaking I don't know. I really think the government probably already has an AI that is at a self-aware state.
yeah,
I don't know.
there's
It
probably
sounds
an alien
crazy.
in a tube somewhere that's like
Not an alien. It's probably a quantum computer because those
yeah,
things are super strong, and it's probably either in orbit somewhere. They have it somewhere real safe and somewhere where they don't have to worry about cooling it as much because
okay.
the amount of heat I'd imagine that this computer would generate by having to sustain this type of function would be a mass.
Like,
This
yeah,
is tinfoil hat shit right here. FYI.
yeah. No, like
This is I have no basis for this at all. This is just
well,
my
when you
thought.
said that, I was like, well, I wonder if they have a base underground where they're like just blowing in cool air, or like up
It would get
north.
warmer down in the ground,
Oh
right?
yeah, that I guess it depends. Like I was just thinking, like if they were like in Alaska or something, like where it's like or like some super cooler place where like
Yeah,
you just have a funnel from outside coming in,
coming
or
in.
yeah,
I would think it'd be well, maybe it wouldn't be easier, but I mean, it's
or
pretty cold in
underwater,
space.
like like
Yeah, but how deep could you go then? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. That's a good point. But like I just that's another
I
thing. Like
mean, and the aliens
underwater,
don't really like us going down to the bottom of the ocean. No, I'm
true.
joking.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I love fucking around with I don't know. I don't know if aliens are real. I go back and forth with it.
I like
Um,
like alien life. I think it's. I think it's like how could it not like it's I won't say it's dumb not to think that there's some kind of life. I'm not saying like green men or the grays or the reptilians, but like the universe is a big place for like life, and then the other thing is Science Network had a great like list of shows. I think it was called Through the Wormhole, but like one of the things they brought up, like we have a tree of life on Earth that is defined in a certain way. Aliens might not have that. Like they might not be carbon based. They might be another
oh yeah, like
material.
boron or something
Yeah.
like that. Like what? Because the thing's boron based in one of the aliens, isn't it? Or it's some type of alien movie where the little goo shit gets on the.
I know in the movie Evolution, they're they moved over on the periodic table a little bit because it was like selenium in and it was in Head and Shoulder shampoo is what killed the alien because if they got like the selenium on them, it was like if we got
Get rid of
arsenic
his
on us.
dandruff.
Yeah. So like it just kind of shows like we look at life a certain way, but like aliens might be out there. We're just not seeing that that's life.
Yeah,
Like think about like a virus isn't alive technically, but it still
it's
replicates and
functioning as
yeah.
a living organism
So
does.
like there could be a lot of stuff like that out there, which is
Because
I don't know.
it's okay. So a bacteria is closer to us than a virus is because of the way it's structured.
Yeah, a virus
So
can't
what?
duplicate by itself,
Yeah,
like
it
as
needs
where
a
a
host.
bacteria can. Yeah.
So what I'm wondering, okay, but like my whole thing is like, okay, like apples to tree as a potato is to ground. Let's
Okay.
say so a human is to bacteria as a virus is to. You know what I mean? Is that what the connection is?
Well, like,
Is there alien life there somehow? That like we're right now we're just having fun. People don't judge us for this. This is
yeah,
just
no.
some i-
Well, because like
tinfoil
like
hat stuff.
I can't remember
You
if
get what I mean though? Because I wonder if there's something out there where we could do that type of similarity. You know?
yeah, I can't think of anything else that's similar to a
Well,
virus. Like
no, no, I'm not
viruses are
saying.
like their own like
Yeah, I'm not saying it's anything we know
yeah.
about. I'm just saying what if that's what we should be looking for.
Yeah, I mean I as far as like when looking for extraterrestrial life, I believe that scientists look for byproducts like
The
methane and
methane
stuff. Yeah.
gases, yeah, they look for the things that give off.
Or
So
evidence of this or like, just like things
they
in the
need it.
rock.
Well, the reason why they do that too is because they need to be able to test it from a far distance, and so then it comes down to shooting photons through it, and different um gases will have different uh the light will be able to go through them
Yeah,
differently.
they'll get like a
The
different like
time that it takes to go through it, yeah,
yes.
and so that's how they identify some of it. I'm sure there's more to it than that even, but from my understanding of it, that's why as well is because they need to be able to test it from far range. Is that so it's easier to test for those
Okay.
gases, um, the presence of them. But then as well too, there's also like there's methane. Things give off methane that from a process, but there's also methane that could be trapped. So there's like there's
Yeah,
two ways, and I don't.
it's just one of
There's a
those
way to
like
differentiate it though too.
well, like I guess I'm trying to think of like if you see a footprint from a dog, you know a dog was there. You didn't have to see the dog was there, but like
Yeah.
a dog was there. Or if there's like dog shit on the ground, you're like a dog shit like because that's what methane is. It's usually like a waste product or like any of those other
It's a byproduct, yeah.
yeah.
It's
So
a
like
cellular
if there's
byproduct, yeah.
like if there's this waste material, like where did it come from? Even if it's something died off, like it was trapped in ice or whatever. Like there are your um, just natural functions on like from like geologic stuff on other planets that might cause
Hmm.
gases or whatever. But yeah, when you're looking for potential life, like you kind of look for the presence of water, and then if there's those other byproducts, and
Yeah.
you know, um, what's like where it is in relation to its star, like if it's warm enough or
Hmm.
all that jazz.
Yeah, and I've been watching like when I first started the podcast, I was really big on posting on TikTok like crazy,
Yeah,
and so I was looking at a lot of trending news, and it sucked because in America it's so like on some days it's just like football and shopping. And so it's like, what
Yeah.
the fuck, dude? And so
Taylor
I
Swift.
started, yeah, I
Yeah.
started going to other countries to see which ones that I could actually, okay, which countries are actually looking up some interesting stuff. And India is where I hit the hardest. Like India, I feel like 6 out of 7 days is looking up space shit. And I know they just landed on the dark side of the moon not too long ago, so that was probably a big influence to it as well. So that
Yeah.
probably had a lot of hype going around. But I just found it interesting how we're so infatuated with consuming and entertainment. It's like no wonder we're so fucking stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I get it, have fun and everything. But one thing that I think that people need to like remember is entertainment was essentially started as a distraction. The Colosseum was made because they, obviously it had other purposes too, but
Yeah.
they used it for that to distract the people from not being able to feed them because they didn't have enough food supply. And so to stop them from like ravaging
Yeah.
and rioting and stuff, they will watch them. They take slaves and make them kill each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. That's
so I have the utmost respect for entertainers and for actors, for anyone, any football player, any sports player, anything like that. You guys are amazing. I just think that we need to start looking at our education a little bit more in this country because that's how we become great.
yeah. Like I forgot what there was a meme like you want your kids to be able to identify famous scientists, not just celebrities or something. Like who invented
Not the
this or
Kardashians' kids.
yeah. Like it's
Not saying they're not important or anything, but just come on,
I
man.
mean, what value do they really have?
Yeah.
Like that.
No, they have. I mean,
Yeah,
they have
as an enter
value,
like
but like,
yeah,
what is more important, knowing the latest trend or figuring
or just
out how
knowing
the
like
human body really works?
like you like
Human mind, sorry.
I hate when I say like when you watch like a TikTok or a Facebook because like sometimes you see these people on campus they're like what was the date of the Civil War or like when did America get founded and it's like all these kids are like what and like stuff like you're like you should maybe know that like who was the first president and they're like I don't know or
Yeah,
like
that's bad. I'm not
goof
good with dates.
or they'll show someone like a map of the world and they're like pointing at like Africa and they're like what's this and they're like I don't know is that New Jersey or some goofy stuff where you're like you right like how do you not know some of this like it just I get not everyone's gonna know every date and stuff but I feel
It's a
like there's
failure on our education system.
I yeah I think some of it just too like there is a lot of
Distractions.
yeah that's the entertainment type stuff whether like people get obsessed with like watching MTV or the Grammys or just celebrity stuff and I don't know and then social media doesn't make it any easier like
Well, social media, the apps, the problem with it is the apps are being designed in order to fire off our dopamine
yeah
so that
no
they keep us engaged longer, to keep us going to the next
on there. Yep.
video,
And
to get
because
another
I get stuck on
minute.
reels all the time.
Yeah,
I'll be in a good like I'm working, and all of a sudden I take a break, look at my phone, and then 45 minutes has gone by, and I've watched like
that's bad.
3/4 of all these different episodes of like SVU, and then, you know what I mean? Like you're just like, and you're. There is times too where I've gone and watched movies because I saw a reel on stuff. I'm like, oh, I should go watch that. That looks good or
And no,
whatever.
there's good things that come from it. I find myself in different rabbit holes on technology sometimes than that. Um, no benefit from them. Besides personal knowledge, but it's bad, dude. So I get what you mean. You look up and like, oh fuck, an hour went by. Oh
Yeah,
shit.
there's a lot of times I'm like,
And
oh
there's
damn
sometimes
it.
when you're scratching and clawing, especially you're obviously or you've been a father, but you're newly
Yeah,
congratulations again. You have your
thanks.
newborn. And so with that, it's like, dude, you're clawing for time.
Yeah, because it's just like, well, too, like, you're just sitting there and like holding the baby because like she's gotten to the point sometimes where like you hold her, she's good, but she doesn't want to be put down. So I'm like,
Put
all right,
that
I'm
baby
just gonna
down
be.
and
I will
like
like say like I think like my wife's better with like when it's time for Mikey to go to bed or something like doing that like let me tell you something kind of thing where the kids like keep stay here stay here. You haven't seen that TikTok where it's like
no. Let's look it up.
when your kid's trying to leave the room like you're trying to put your kid to sleep and it shows the guy that they're trying to push off like he's in a bungee chair and he's like let me tell you one more thing and like that's how little kids are. I'm the one who sits and stays there
Is this it?
and what's up.
No, no.
Oh yeah it's the guys he's getting like they're doing it he's in a like get on a plastic chair and they're getting ready to bungee like with a bungee and they push him off but he keeps telling the guys let me tell you something let me tell you something but then the meme was like when you try to put your toddler to sleep but yeah like I'm the one who sits and stays there and my wife is like just walk away just put him down and walk away and I'm like
Yeah.
oh
You have to, man. It's hard, but um getting them used to self-soothing early on will do wonders. And I don't want to sound like I'm telling anyone how to parent because I'm
Oh,
not
you
like
hear
that.
so many like
You know what I mean? Like this is my opinion on it, and my opinion can be completely 100% wrong.
well, yeah,
I
no, I get what you're saying. It's
and so I will never judge anyone for the way they parent. I I definitely think that nobody should just be screaming at their kid all the time. Do I believe kids should be screamed at sometimes? Yeah, sometimes it
oh yeah,
needs to be. Um, there's actually studies done with water that show that um it was Masaru Emoto. He's a water scientist. He took 3 jars of, did the science fair study, put 3 jars in water with rice, and spoke good affirmations to one in Japanese and English, spoke bad affirmations to another one, and then did nothing to the third. The first one fermented. The one he spoke well to are good affirmations. The one he spoke bad affirmations to, um, started to mold. The one that he said nothing to decayed. So if you extrapolate that to like speaking, with human to human interaction, it shows that even scolding is better than just ignoring completely
okay, I get
because
what
you
you're
will get
okay.
the
Yes,
decay of the individual's whatever it is, their
yeah,
conscious, their soul, their personality. It will decay instead of, mold can be removed. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Still not good, so you shouldn't do it all the
yeah.
time. But it shows that the vibrations from the tone and the way we say it have an effect on things. There is also, I mean, one of his studies has been reviewed by Purdue even. Um, Masaru Emoto, um, water study. What he did is he had let's see. He had a
This next series of photographs of the work of Japanese researcher Mr. Masaru Emoto from his book The Message from Water.
All right.
Mr. Emoto's work provides factual evidence that human vibrational energy, thoughts, work.
okay, I could probably summarize it quicker.
Yeah.
Um, so so what he did is he took water from this Japanese waterfall.
Okay.
He flash froze it at -5 degrees centigrade. It looked all murky and nasty. I have the pictures queued up on my phone because I talk about it with people sometimes, and I just never closed it.
Is it one of those like things that you can relate to so many different things in life?
Well, no,
Like his experiment can relate to so much. Is that what you?
no. What it is so okay. He flash froze it. It looked like this. You
Okay.
see how nasty that looks? Like murky, nasty
Yeah,
water.
yeah.
He then had a Tibetan monk chant a mantra over it for 20 minutes, which is just a prayer.
Okay.
Um, he then flash froze it again, and this is what he got.
Much clearer.
Well,
Yeah.
a crystalline snowflake-like structure.
Oh.
And then he brought it even further. Vivaldi, Four Seasons is like the wedding song.
Okay.
I know I butchered that. Sorry, everyone. Um,
Oh, and it even more defined shape.
well, yeah, it became no two snowflakes are alike,
Yeah.
but like they grow out from the center point. It's so weird, man. And you can see
Yeah. So those are all different.
if you scroll down, you'll see what happened when he put on Ramstein. You know what Ramstein is, right? Heavy
Exactly.
metal.
Okay.
Um, I think it's like Du hast,
Oh
Du
God.
hast, Du
Okay.
hast. That's not Ramstein. I don't think. Maybe it is, but it's kind of that genre. But yeah, and so that's actually published in Purdue, on Purdue's website.
Oh, you are on Purdue's website. That's interesting.
Yeah, and
Oh.
yeah, so he did that because his original thought was that if people stood around like a thing of water or something like that, they could think a thought, and because they thought that thought, it would actually have an effect on the water. Because the whole process behind that is we know how to scan what areas of the brain are working because we give off photons when we think. That's how we know what part of the brain is working. With that, the inverse of sound or the inverse of light is sound. And so when you give off a thought, you're giving off a vibration, essentially. And so he thought that it could change the thing of water. He was never able to do it. So he moved to actual verbiage, words.
Okay.
And so that's where you got this study coming from. To me, that's absolutely amazing. That says a lot. And you ever seen those vibration trays? Like they set it to a frequency and they have like the sand on it, and the sand will
Yeah.
move in different like crazy like fractal patterns.
Yeah, because they will have to slow down your footage too, I think, isn't it? Or like,
Oh no, like it just matters the frequency they set it to. Like
oh yeah, where like it comes up or goes down or move. Yeah, I think I know what
yeah,
you're
it's
talking
like a
about.
frequency plate. Frequency plate. Um, let's see. A resonance experiment. Let's do this.
Loud audio. Oh, okay. That's
See, it's doing different vibrations and it actually moves the sand. These things are real. Like you can go and buy one of
yeah.
these.
That's
This was done a long time ago for the first time, but for some reason it's like it's resurfacing again.
wow. And that just happens to where it falls at, like.
It's the frequency causing the vibrations from the frequency are causing it to move in those patterns.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I'm
It's
surprised
like,
you've never seen this. And you get a lot of people who like to poke fun at this type of stuff, but it's like, hey man, there's this stuff it's happening. It's
Yeah.
real. Whether you want to sit here and call it voodoo or whatever you want to call it, it's
no, it's just the way it's moving in different shapes because of the frequency.
yeah, because the frequency, it pushes it. So what does that say about sound? You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
says that there's so much that we don't understand still. What they've done too to go a little bit further is they've done experiments with taking frequencies, and they were able to set a frequency to a diamond.
Okay.
They were able to then take that diamond, take like a butter knife, and separate pieces of it. If they brought it so far away,
Oh wow.
they could turn off the frequency and it would stay separated. If they didn't bring it far enough away,
It
when
would.
they turned off the frequency, it would come back together. And so what they did is they took like a
Yeah.
little toothpick type thing and they put it in there and they got it encased in the diamond. It's like almost like the sword and a stone for King
Yeah,
Arthur.
that's
It's crazy. They've made small objects levitate with sound, very small little
okay.
balls.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen those experiments.
No, I haven't seen that. But
Dude,
that's
so cool. So cool. And I know we're this is like way into we're off topic so far right now, people.
that was
Let's see, levitating small ball with sound.
I got my wife like a planter that like it like is a little pot and then it's over this tray and it's a magnet that holds it up. It was pretty cool because you could just spin it. It would just look like a floating.
Because
Like,
of magnet resistance,
yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah, I like that type of stuff. It's like one of those sharper image things.
Yeah, something like I forgot I saw it on
So like, see, they're using sound vibrations
to hold it up.
to push
Okay,
it up actually, and so
it's like some Black Panther stuff.
applications of this.
Yeah, the
are-
vibranium.
Wakanda forever!
Yeah.
Oh shit! Sorry, people, I'm a spaz. Yeah, no, fucking Wakanda forever.
I just watched it the other day.
That's a dude. I watched Echo and I was really disappointed.
Yeah, like a lot of
I'm
this
not
stuff.
like that usually.
I liked a lot of Disney's or like Marvel stuff, but like some of this newer stuff, it just I don't
It's
know if they
not
got off.
hitting.
Yeah, I don't know if they got off track or what. Like it just
I
hasn't
think
like
all
excited me.
The PC bullshit has convoluted
Ye-
the world,
Yeah,
and obviously I believe everyone can do whatever they want, live and let live, but you cannot force feed people shit.
yeah,
I'm sorry if I can't tell whether you look like a guy or a girl. You can't get mad at me for not knowing that you prefer to be called a girl when you look more like a male. I'm not trying to be offensive. I do what you want. If you can find love in this world, more power to you because
Yeah.
it's hard enough to do with the conventional way that we've been doing for eons.
I
We
will
haven't figured
say
that out.
in some of the Marvel stuff, like I think there's things that were in old comics that like when you look at it through the eyes of like people today, you think it's political, but it was already something. Does it make? Am I making sense? Like like I forgot what was a big one that when you watch Winter Soldier, Falcon Winter Soldier, and they had that black Captain America that like was like, I hate the government because they did like that was a thing that was written back then. Like that happened to some individuals where like they just kind of like they're
Where they get screwed over when they come back from war, where the VA takes forever to get them their help. And,
or there was like
that's a reality of today still.
Yeah, and they just kind of like it just when you look at it through now, you just see like, oh, like F the government or whatever. But like that kind of happened, like that stuff happened, like then or I forgot. I read one thing.
I
Someone was
just
upset with like the Black Widow movie because it was like too many women. I'm like, it's based on a woman lead. Like that was a review I read somewhere. I was like, it's Black Widow. Like why? It's not gonna be based on dudes. Like they're Black Widow assassins.
and there
Like
are guys in it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
but
Like
like
there are the
like
guys, some
why
of the
get
guys
upset?
superheroes. Yeah, no, people just like want any
The only
reason to
one
bitch.
I She Hulk was get like
I
I
liked it actually.
so like I know like when I was talking to Colin, his wife was watching it and laughed at certain things. My wife laughed at like you could tell like the jokes were women based because like guys are watching it like what like
Yeah.
and I just wanted more backstory. Like I like the character of She Hulk. Like I thought and I thought it was cool having Abomination back in and whatnot. But
Yeah,
like
no, I like that.
I don't know, like some of it, like I'm just like okay, cool. I guess when the bulk of your fan base is like just nerdy dudes, like appeal to that. Like the I 90% nerdy dudes and 10% is these girls. Like maybe give them nods here and there, but like if you piss off your main,
Go back to the old style of how they were doing it.
yeah,
That's what
like
they need to do.
if you piss off your main viewership, they're just gonna be like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go watch DC then, like or
I'm just
whatever.
not gonna watch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I try not to complain too much on stuff and just look at it
Same
like
here. I try to look at everything from a fresh pair of eyes, but I felt like, and spoiler alert for Echo, if you haven't watched it, don't listen to the next minute. Um, the fourth episode could have had a badass fight scene where he gave her the gun, where she had the gun on him to shoot him.
yeah,
She should have dropped the gun and started just whooping on him, and then they had a brawl out there. I understand they
yeah,
wanted to bring all the women together, they all worked together and all that other stuff, but it was like it was just so cheesy,
yeah. I don't
and
know.
it just seemed like it was made for nothing more than a 9-year-old.
And some of the characters they bring in are so random. Like they're just like
It does well
I
because
never even
if
heard of
you ever
Echo until watching
and she's not
MCU.
in the comic of the new event. I think it's called the New Avengers. Whatever they're mimicking off of right now. I did not see her in that the
Okay,
cartoon version
yeah.
of it, not the comic book part, because
Yeah, I
have not
watched
got
a lot of
that
the
depth.
cartoons.
The
Yeah,
cartoon though, the Avengers cartoon, I didn't see her in it, and it is kind of random. That when you watch that, it's like, what the
Ye-
fuck is going on? So they're kind of following that part of it. I just think that the acting is really corny. It's really cheap, and it's not well thought out. It's not how people interact, and maybe it's because we grew up in a generation where we're still like hanging out with
yeah,
people,
yeah,
and like now we have like this generation where you go and try to check out at a Dunkin' Donuts, and the person can't make eye contact with you. They don't know how to have like a rift with you. They don't know
yeah,
how to like
yeah,
just have a a basic small conversation with someone,
yeah.
and they get
It's
really awkward really quick, and so maybe it's because of more people become like that, and so that's why they're shaping it like that, and maybe that's why I'm not used to it,
I yeah
because that's
I,
what I thought. Maybe it's like, is this why, because more kids are coming like this, and so they're awkward when they talk, and that's what they're portraying, or is they're just think everyone's this stupid? I don't know. It feels like it's so, you can tell it's a movie. Like I like watching a movie where you're like, shit, I forgot this was fake. You know what I mean? Or
yeah,
like, you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like it feels like you're just sitting by
Sh-
one of your homeboys.
She would have been better off left as like a side character, still like if they did like a Daredevil series and she was like a side like whether she like anti-hero kind of stepped in to help him or something, not like
Yeah.
her own series. I mean, I guess like hey, they made it whatever, but like I don't know, it's that one I wasn't too happy with. And I know like
I like some of it. Some of it was good.
yeah, I mean like I guess the idea is kind of cool that
The
she just was
the fourth, it really killed it at the fourth episode. And I liked how they used, I don't know if it was Native American actual like language music. That to me though, that music, it
soothing.
resonated with me. It really did. I like, my son was dancing to it. Like it really resonated though with me in a way that like where I want to go listen to more. And then they
Oh,
switched it over to like English, and I was like, they fucked up.
they yeah,
They should have kept it
just
as
left it
that.
alone.
Yeah. What I want to do though right now, wow, we would have been speaking for 45 minutes actually. So fuck that. We'll keep talking on this, and then we'll transition
Sure, whatever
back
you think.
to actually learning a little bit about you, because I think you have an amazing profession, and I think people would love to hear about that. Um, but yeah, no, Marvel they did so good in the beginning, so well, and then
I feel like
it took
after
a bad twist. I think because of the way the world is shaping, and because I don't want to keep trying to pivot back to this, but like I I think when you want to destroy something, the easiest way to destroy it and not get caught trying to destroy it is by getting into it and letting them destroy themselves. And when you see a entity doing that, it's when they go to extremes. And right now, I feel like we're in an extreme sense of like, hey, you can't say this because it's offensive. But it's like, okay, yeah, you're gonna use it for that right now. But you put this law in place that blankets it. What is that gonna? You think that's gonna be used to protect you in 5 years?
Yeah.
No. And then you realize that all these things being used against Republicans right now are setting a precedent for when they come in power. You don't think now they're not going to use them? And
Yeah.
even I hate that our political parties represent what our people think. Our people should represent what our parties think. It needs to be reversed. And I know that's a little bit difficult to do, but I think if we made our political parties a microcosm of our government, it would be a little bit more fluid with changing how the people believe. Not, you know what I mean? Because in order to be a Democrat, you got to follow what they follow. It's not like, hey, these ideals are what Democrats represent.
Yeah, and too many
And
people nowadays are like, you're either 100% with this or you're not. Like, you know what I
you're
mean?
with me or
Like,
fuck you.
exactly. Like,
And that's
there's
not how it
probably a
should
lot
be.
of Democrats that don't agree with X, Y, and Z, but like, you get lumped into that. I think there's a lot of union guys. I think they get lumped in with Democrats just because Democrats are more pro union.
Yeah.
And some of them are like, I don't give a shit about any of this. It's just I'm with the union, and that's what I have to vote for. And
And like the whole Democrats, a lot of Hispanics, people think that they would rather be with Democrats. No, a lot of them have conservative views. They
yeah,
believe you work for what you get.
yeah. I think
Especially ones that come over. It's when they get here they become lazy.
my wife's family owns a tree nursery,
Okay.
and she's all like, they deal with all kinds of business owners, but a lot of these guys
I
have
was
come
actually
from Ireland, Mexico, wherever. They always talk about how America's the best country they've ever been in. She's like, any of my customers that come in, they're always talking about America's the best country that they've lived in. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's
No,
um
we do. We have a lot of great things here. I love this country. Do not get me wrong. I love America. I would die for America, and I would die to protect our land. I would. I seriously do believe in this country enough to where I would lay my life down on it for it to protect the freedom aspects, not these wars over oil and these
yeah,
other agendas.
like
But I'm an American. I'm proud to be it. I just think that as humans grow, a nation needs to grow as well, and that means growing in a positive direction. And anytime you lose freedoms, that's a problem.
yeah, or anyone's like looking out, like saying they know what's better for you than you
Then you
know.
know.
Yeah, or same thing with your kids need to learn this. And I'm a public school guy, but like sometimes like some of these, like, what they're trying to teach younger kids is kind of like, is that like really what you guys are there for?
Well,
Like,
there was a separation. So there's a couple things. Separation of church and state.
yes.
Great thing.
Hmm.
Great thing.
Agree with you.
I am a Christian. I do believe in Jesus Christ. I know not everyone does. I'll never push on anyone, but like I always say, I will always profess it. I do believe in it, and I've gotten back to church recently. I know I'm pretty sure you don't believe in conventional.
I will say, had you talked to me before I had kids, I would have been like, I'm an atheist. But
Yeah, no, I remember talking to you
after,
back in the day. You didn't
yeah,
believe in it.
after having my kid, like, I don't like, I'm not drinking like the Parkview Church Jesus juice, but like, my son, when he was born, it was like a long labor, and then doctor said, hey, we got to do C-section, your kid's in duress or whatever. And when they took him out, he had a full, like, true knot as an umbilical cord. So had he gone the normal route, that knot would have cut off circulation. He could have had severe developmental delays. But he's perfect. Like, and it was an instant like feeling of like, I gave you a miracle, I could take it away. And like, I try not to think about it too much, but like, one of the stats I read was like, I think it was like 1 to 2% of pregnancies get a true knot, and of
Oh
those,
my
most of the
god.
kids get like severe issues because you cut off oxygen,
Yeah,
while they're there. And
that's scary,
and the
man.
doctor even said, she's like, hey, had like we not done C-section, like this would have been a different, like we'd had a different day, So it was kind of like one of
You're
those
making me
like,
cry, dude.
yeah, that was I don't know, it was like I said before I had kids, and like, I don't know, you see them and you're holding your kid and you're like, wow, this like, I don't know, it's hard to explain.
Well,
Uh,
you just got me a little emotional right there, man. I'm sorry to go through that.
well, he's good, like everything's fine, but
Yeah,
like it
but
was
still,
like
that's.
that was my like like my like, I
I
don't
feel
know,
like the loss for breath.
I don't want to say like like I found religion or whatever, but like I'm just like, all right, like
You're
someone was looking
you're.
out for me, and I'm gonna leave it at that. And I like try to be a good person, and like part of me like I read, like I got the Bible on Audible. I started listening to it, but like sometimes it's very like when you try to like look at what you want to follow, like you go with the oldest because that was the first, and all these other branches of like, Protestant, Christian, Baptist, all like stem from like you know what I mean? You go to like the base of your tree, or are you like with these branches here and there? Because like sometimes I feel like when you go to like a non-denomination church, it's like, well, I don't want to follow all the rules of like my old church, so I'm going to go to this one that says I can do X, Y, and Z that this church said I couldn't. So
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? And like,
So yeah, no, I get it completely because well, I've always went to a non-denominational Christian church
yeah,
at Grace Fellowship in Mokina.
okay,
That's where I grew up, and I literally learned how to swim in the pastor's pool.
oh, nice,
Yeah. I would ride my bike there on Wednesdays after school. Julie and John were very close to me. They were the pastor's son. So he was the junior pastor, and that was his wife. She did the youth group, the children's group. So I would go there, and just help them, and I would just go there to hang out. So they were very big in my life, and when I was thinking of what made me happy, getting back to that church was important.
Y-
And
it's like like one of the thing I really thought about too is like a lot of people that are atheists seem miserable. Like, like it's like you don't, because like you
I've
don't
met
have
some
like,
that aren't.
yeah,
But
no, but
no, I
like
get it. Yeah.
not like outright, but they're like, I always feel like they're always complaining. They're always like because and I'm just
So
going off of what I went on Facebook seeing, like, because I was in a ton of these groups and stuff where I just would see like, oh, that's funny, this is funny, but like everyone just seemed miserable. And like anybody, I feel like that's like a successful business person or celebrity is always like, thank God, like
yeah, I
that's a
think some of it's also to portray an image as
well
well.
that yeah
But I do believe that if I've said this too on a different podcast, but try to pray for 10 days, morning, night, and before a meal. Just you don't have to thank
yeah
uh, like what I was interpreting what you just said is your higher power, your image of a higher power changed after your children.
yeah
But so with that, I challenge anyone to do that and tell me if you don't feel better. Do it truly though. And I feel
that,
like the whole atheist thing is kind of almost like, oh, I only like old country. It's that cop out that people use because they don't know they don't want to listen to it,
yeah.
and so they use that because they hear everyone else say it.
And I get like some people like might lose their faith because of X, Y, and Z or
Yeah.
whatever. Like and I felt going through college. I'm like, oh, you feel like you learn all this stuff, but at the end of the day, too, it's like there's a lot of like, if this wasn't exactly right, there wouldn't be life, or if this wasn't exactly right, there wouldn't be like like the strength of gravity or the strength of it. Like if anything's off by a little bit, I don't know. It's kind of like hard to explain. I like
No, you make perfect sense to me. And anyone if they don't understand it, like there's very
and I'm
small
a very
gaps for
big
things
like
that happen.
yeah, like I know like I believe in evolution and that sort of thing, but like the guy, and I'm terrible with names, but the one of the individuals who worked on finding the double helix said like the chances of that happening were like if you had a storm go through a junkyard and it formed a plane. Do you know what I
So,
mean?
well,
Like
this I was gonna actually say this earlier. The whole thing with alien life is if it happened the way we explain it, it's more likely that there is no other life.
that's true.
Like
Yeah, because
on a
it
statistical
needs
basis.
so like a perfect.
When looking at the numbers, yeah, it's such like an oddity thing. So if it happened the way it did, there's almost no other life out there. So, but it's so that makes you think again. And I don't, I believe in adaptation, which I know people say, oh, that is evolution. I think there's a difference, though. I define them differently, and so I don't believe in evolution completely. Just because also too now, like okay, so we were discussing the other day. I won't see any names or name
One of your
where we
former
were.
podcasts, I think you were talking about like develop. Was it dinosaurs or something? On
I
was it
said something about
Brian's?
dinosaurs
Okay, yeah,
becoming
yeah.
chickens.
Okay,
Um, Everything somehow becomes smaller over time, which is really odd to me. Which that's crossed my mind now with the whole giant thing. But anyways, because like if you take an elephant and you put them on an island, they over years they will get
well
smaller.
that's because of lack of resources.
Yeah, but it's weird how
There's
you think they
certain
maybe just die off,
well they're
but
like
they get dwarfed.
mammals.
Dwarfism.
Mammals and birds tend to go to island dwarfism, and then if
Yeah.
you like some reptiles and bugs get island gigantism
Yeah, they get larger. Yeah.
because like for example like the tortoises they have no predators, nothing's eating them, so they can just grow
Yeah.
instead of worrying about being small or like what was like I know like New Zealand's like that. I think like some of the birds got small and lost their ability to flight, but they've got giant backs.
But to me,
Like
that's adaptation. That
but
not evolution because you're not seeing like a significant change in anything. And I know I'm not naming it
the
completely right.
the other thing is like the scope of time. Like not everyone, like there's geologic time, which is what like scientists go with, and then there might be like biblical time, which would like someone that it's more like in line with saying like the Bible is how the Earth was formed, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
according to the Bible, I think the Earth is like 6,000 years old, but like to a scientist, it's I think
Well,
three
that's just
point
what it
four
said.
billion.
They said it was made in 7 days, but what were those? What were they
That
referencing as
yeah.
days? You know what I mean? What's a day to a god?
Yeah, well, I think like I know when I was just listening on Audible, it said sun up, sun down type thing. But again, that like some people look at the Bible as like a literal, like this is word for word, this is how it happened.
A priest told me there's 3 ways to read it: allegorically, like a nonfiction, and then
Yeah,
I can't remember the third one, but
like literal, like it's like
yeah,
this is how it like
yeah.
everything here was word for word. It's how it happened. I think some of it is just people that know how to explain things.
There's
Certain stuff.
definitely some mixed language in there though. There's a guy, Anthony Mark Allegro, or Mark Allegro, Anthony
Okay.
Allegro. What is it? It's Mark or Anthony Allegro. He wrote the Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. It's a very hard listen, but it's very very interesting because when a lot of these books were translated, we didn't have the Sumerian tablets, and so with Sumerian tablets, we were actually able to link the Indo-European and Semitic languages. They
Huh.
both stem from them, and so when breaking those down, like this guy was actually uh recruited to help decipher the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was one of the men that worked on that. And so after working on that, he believes that because of simple errors, like just miswritten things, so they were interpreted differently. So when you go back and look at the similarities
Yeah.
between the two and using the Sumerian tablets, that you're able to see that, hey, no, this was interpreted wrong. He believes every time you see Jesus Christ in the Bible, it should be mushroom covered in God's sperm. I know that
Yeah.
sounds fucked
I
up.
know.
It sounds fucking weird, but they used to in some indigenous religions they believe that rain was God's it was God fertilizing the earth. It was his
Oh.
sperm.
Okay.
And the mushroom was a weirdest thing then because it pops up in one day. You know what I mean? It rains and boom, it comes
Yeah.
up
It
and
just
it
yeah.
goes away. And so they were amazed by it. And so like he believes that Christianity formed from a sex mushroom cult. And some of the stuff he retranslates, like holy fuck, that makes sense. And when you're listening to the Bible, anytime you hear Jesus Christ, go replace it real quick and just see how it sounds. It's like whoa, that
Huh.
actually works, you know.
Yeah. No.
Like,
I guess.
and it's
I
just
hadn't heard any of that.
so if you read that book, I'm a little bit removed from it, and like I said, it is a hard listen. It's probably a book that I need to
Yeah.
grab and read, and
Some books
dedicate some
on
time
Audible,
to.
if they don't get the right narrator, you're just like, I
Yeah,
can't.
it's
Like,
just he's talking about like redoing literacy, so it's like this was, you know what I mean? So it's like sometimes you
oh
need to see that
yeah,
shit.
and
Like,
there's some of those like books that are like in a higher academic level than you might realize that you're like, I'm not here. Like that's
yeah, no, and
yeah.
I definitely it's just one you probably should read in opposed to listening to, or if you're gonna
Okay.
at least have the book to follow along with. But it's a good read. And it's an interesting, it's an interesting perspective, and people will try to say, "Oh, you're stupid for believing that. You just want to believe in all this crazy stuff. You just, blah, blah, blah." But in the end, these people are educated individuals with PhDs, and they are
Yeah.
intelligent. It doesn't make them an expert in everything, but he has the credibility that can show that, hey, he is actually making sense with the mistranslations of these things. And